Welcome friends to another r/malicious compliance video. As always, if you enjoy this video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. And our first story of the day is by the Potato Fairy 95. Ex-boss accused me of reporting him, so I did. I worked for a small company for 6 weeks at the end of 2020. It was landscape architecture. He sacked me with no real explanation when I was off sick with COVID. I have undiagnosed, highly suspected ADHD, so I wasn't massively surprised. It affects my performance. But I was surprised by the timing and the fact that it was via email. I asked for more clarity. I was never rude to him. I just told him I wish he'd called me so I could get some feedback. He got really mad and proceeded to write a long list of my over-exaggerated and some false shortcomings. Example being too slow, distracted, stuff he never mentioned at the time. He then said, "If you want to take legal action against me, let me know." I didn't. I left it and moved on. Fast forward to today. He just called my mobile from a private number, asking how I was. I was taken aback as we had no communication since. He said, "Someone has put in a report I'm using unlicensed software. Was it you? Because I know we left on bad terms." I said, "I've no idea what you're talking about." He made it seem I was devastated he sacked me and would have good reason to report him. No matter what I said, he was convinced it was me. He even accused my dad, who works in IT. I didn't even know he was using unlicensed software. I said, "I feel like you're unfairly accusing me here." He raised his voice and shouted, "Why do you always play the victim? Stop playing the victim." Probably in reference to the fact that I questioned the way he sacked me. It sounded so rehearsed, I honestly had to hold back laughter. Then he said, "I'm not accusing you, but did you do it?" Looking back, I believe it was unlicensed. We only ever used the student version of Autodesk, which is illegal when you're running a business. This, combined with his accusation, tells me he's in fact breaking the law. I was so pissed off by his accusation, I reported him to both Autodesk and the BSA. He'll have to run an audit and likely face a huge fine. He thinks I did it either way, so what harm can one more report do? So if you got called up out of the blue and accused of reporting him for using unlicensed software, basically his way of admitting to you that he is using unlicensed software, do you think you'd be petty enough to hit up Autodesk and the BSA and report him yourself after the fact? Let me know in the comments down below. This next story is by WolfPetter42. Leave if I don't like it? Fine, I'll leave. Last year, I went to my uncle's house for Thanksgiving. I cooked the turkey the day before and put it into the fridge before going to sleep on their couch. I woke up to their young kid screaming in my face to make him chicken nuggets at 4 a.m. in the morning. They never make him behave, nor punish him for anything he does. So I ignored him and went back to sleep after he decided to go scream at his parents he wanted nuggets. Cut to 9 a.m., everyone's getting things ready for the day. Cooking is beginning for the dishes that need a few hours in the oven. They didn't buy a turkey, they asked me to buy one. I decided to cook it the day before and thought we could toss it into the oven an hour before the time to eat arrived so it would be warm. However, their kid started randomly coming up behind me and screaming as loudly as he could into my ear. I asked them to make him stop, seeing as I prefer my hearing intact and don't like anyone just screaming in my ear for no good reason. I was told by my uncle, word for word, "It's our house. If you don't like it, leave." They were shocked when I actually did just that. I opened the fridge, took my turkey out, got into my car, and drove away. Not 1 minute after leaving, I was getting spammed by calls and texts asking, begging, or threatening me to come back with the only turkey for Thanksgiving. When I got home, I called him and told him, "You told me to leave if I didn't like it, so I left. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." Then hung up and blocked his number. I have many stories about them refusing to control their kids, then them having to deal with the consequences that result in this. As the top comment on this post says, "I guess you could say you quit them cold turkey." And I don't think I can top that, so let's just move on to our next story. It's also by WolfPetter42. Fine, I'll move back out. 2 years ago, I decided to look for a new place to live. Just wanted somewhere else. Management was bad, nothing ever got fixed, neighbors were jerks. Had I known what would have happened, however, I'd have dealt with that with a grand smile on my face. Cue time to move. I'm looking for places. My aunt says, "We have a spare room, you can move in with us." So I ask her how much rent she wants to charge me, seeing as if it's too much, I'll just look for my own apartment elsewhere. They wanted $150 a month, and to be honest, that was the deal of a lifetime. There's a saying, if something seems too good to be true, it is. And boy, should I have remembered that. A few days later, I was moved in, just a bed, table, TV, Wii, and 2 tablets as well as all my clothes, seeing as I didn't own much at the time. I paid them that month's rent, and the next so I wouldn't need to do it next month. There was no written agreement, there was no lease or whatever. My room is set up, took hours to clean cause they're kids, they have 7, 3, are moved up by this point, used to use it as a playroom, toys and general stuff. After being there for 2 days, my uncle told me, since you're living here now too, you need to help out around the house. I asked him what he'd like me to do, and the list was staggering. They wanted me to do the dishes, sweep the floors, watch the kids when they were gone, cook for the kids, clean up after the kids, do the laundry, every single night. They expected me to be a live-in male nanny. This was outrageous. But I decided to just suck it up and hopefully get them to agree to far less later on, seeing as $150 a month was golden. It lasted all of 5 days. Their kids destroyed my entire room. Despite having a lock, they just broke it. Their 2 youngest daughters jumped on my small boxy TV like a trampoline because they're bored, and neither of their parents did anything about it, refused to punish them, refused to replace my items that got destroyed. Which also included my Wii, which they smashed because I told them they couldn't play it, and my 2 tablets. I talked to my aunt about moving out and how I'd like to get my stuff replaced. She laughed and told me no, so I went to my uncle to ask about it. He told me they wouldn't pay a red cent, and that if I didn't like living here near their kids, then maybe I should move out. So 2 days later, I did. I had almost nothing left except my clothes and some photos that held sentimental value to me. The rest of my stuff was in a storage unit. Since I only got 1 room, why bring my furniture? I left in the middle of the night, and to replace the stuff their kids destroyed and that they refused to replace, I went into their shed and took my uncle's hunting gear, a crossbow, arrows, pretty much all his gear. He didn't own guns, and sold it on eBay, which just about covered the cost of replacing all my stuff, including the bed I left behind because one of their kids decided it would be funny to pee in it. They didn't call me until 2 days later when they realized the house was a total mess. Floors dirty, dishes piled high in the sink, trash not taken out, etc. My aunt was absolutely furious. She screamed at me on the phone that I needed to come back. We had a deal. I'm not going to lie, I lost my patience with these people, so I screamed back, "You people told me if I didn't like living there, to move out. So I did, sucks to be you, maybe clean your own goddarn house and watch your own kids." Before ending the call and turning my phone off to ignore the amount of spam calls and texts I was getting. My uncle only ever goes hunting every 10 years or so, no idea why, so they still haven't found out I sold his hunting gear, plus their shed's an absolute trash pile, so I was surprised I found anything in there worth the value to replace my stuff. If everything OP said here was the truth, then this family tried to steamroll OP, get every ounce of work out of them that they could, and then treat them like poop on top of it all, and act like they have a right to be upset when they leave that situation. This next story is by Frenchazol, Cheaters Never Prosper. I used to teach high school English. 11th grade students were required to take both a standard English class and also a class called Research, where they learned to write a research paper. I taught the same group of students for both classes. One day, I was grading a stack of assignments and noticed that 3 students all had the very same, very unusual errors. I held the papers up to the light and noticed that aside from the names, all 3 papers were identical. Same font, same spacing, same exact words, same margins, etc. So I called the 3 students to my desk to talk about this, and they admitted that 2 of them hadn't finished the assignment and had run into the 3rd one in the computer lab before class. Student number 1 printed off his homework, then let students 2 and 3 change the name on the Word doc and print it off as well. According to our school rules, this is plagiarism. Submitting someone else's work as your own. I explained to the trio that this is plagiarism and that the normal consequence for that is 1. Detention, 2. A note in your behavior record, and 3. Receiving a 50% on the assignment. The school didn't believe in giving zeros, which is a story for another day. I further explained that I would not be giving them a detention, but that they would have a mark in their behavior record and that I would put a 50% grade on the assignment for now, but that they could improve that by resubmitting the work. I would average their new score with the 50% so they could receive up to 75% on this assignment. The students agreed that this was fair and went on their way. 2 of them submitted redone assignments and had their grades adjusted. Student number 3, however, did not. His dad chose to call our principal and complain about this situation. Apparently, he was under the impression that having plagiarism on his son's behavior record would make it impossible for said son to go to college. I was called into the principal's office and asked to explain what happened, which I did, including the part where the students themselves confessed to copying each other's work. The principal decides that my punishment of them, though lighter than what was allowed, was too much. He instructs me to do the following. 1. Apologize to the students for the grade I gave them. 2. Remove the behavior note from their files. 3. Give them 100% on the assignment. So not only do I have to apologize when I did nothing wrong, but I have to give them a better score than they would have originally had? No, sir. But the principal is my boss, so I have very few options. I went back to my classroom. When the class came in, I pulled the trio aside and apologized for my reaction to the incident. After school that day, I deleted the behavior marks. The only thing left was the grades. Let's say this assignment was worth 50 points. I changed the trio's grades to 50 out of 50 and gave every other student 25 extra credit points on the assignment. Most of the rest of the class now had enough extra credit that they could effectively skip an entire assignment and easily receive an A at the end of the semester. I don't know if in the end OP's adjustment really made that much of a difference, but I do know one thing: if I got a random 25 extra credit points, I would be over the moon. So the students sure ain't hurting. And our final story of the day is by LDoctor52. You made me erase the computer. I worked for a company for 3 years and it was awful. Unethical thieves, so getting crab canned was the best thing to happen. I was going to move on anyway. I'm told I'm being let go. COVID, sales, blah blah. Before I leave, I have to go to HR for an exit interview. While in there, I have to take out my tablet and wipe it, set it back to factory settings per HR. I confirmed they wanted this. Confirmed. Okay, done. Today, 6 months after being canned, I get a call from the new sales manager asking me what happened. Where the files went, it was back to factory settings, they can't recover important documents, etc. I'm laughing as he's going on and on. I say, Jim, I erased everything. I erased everything like you asked and HR directed me to do. Silence. Jim chimes in. They did make you reset it, didn't they? I confirm. We can't get access to any of the files. There's something wrong with our backup. The rep that's taking your place has no info. Yada yada yada. As Jerry Seinfeld would say, that's a shame. And this is the moment that you should have started a new consultation service for a nice hefty sum. Oh, don't worry, I'll come in there and fix all your woes, restore everything to where it needs to be, but you'll need to pay me handsomely for my time. Otherwise, good luck and that's a shame. But with that being said, that's a wrap on another bunch of stories here today. As always, if you guys have any favorite videos of this bunch, let me know which one in the comments down below and why. And if you enjoyed the stories in general, if you could subscribe to this channel, it'd mean a lot to me. I make these videos daily, and it's by far and away the best way to support my channel. So no matter what you did, whether it was subscribing or liking, leaving a comment, I just appreciate the heck out of you guys. And as always, I'll be back tomorrow with even more stories right here on the Storytime channel.